Here, what we believe is we have the prokaryotic organism here. Now, this prokaryotic organism has evolved into a eukaryotic unicellular organism which were aquatic in nature, and what we call them? We call them Protista. Now, this Protista, what they have done during the particular evolution term, we believe that Protista is divided into three different kingdoms. Three different portions. If you remember, we had three different portions. One was the photosynthetic Protista, one was the saprophytic Protista, and one was the group known as the protozoans. And we believe that the photosynthetic Protista was responsible for the plant kingdom, saprophytic Protista was responsible for your fungi, and the protozoans were responsible for your animal kingdom. So what we are saying that this photosynthetic Protista, which contains your diatom, dinoflagellates and euglena, some of them they have modified themselves and converted them from unicellular organism to a multicellular organism. Now this multicellular organism which we had is basically a mass of cell, and anything which have a mass of cell which is not differentiated is known as thallus. So on the basis of that, what we are saying that the group is known as the Tracheophyta. Now this Tracheophyta are aquatic in nature. Basically Tracheophyta is divided into two different portions. One is fungi, one is algae. Now we are talking about plant kingdom, so we are considering algae, and algae is known as Tracheophyta in a scientific term. Now this Tracheophyta try to accumulate with the environment, they try to accumulate with the particular aquatic system. Once they get adapted with the particular system, what they have tried to switch, or they have tried to evolve. So for evolution, what they have done, they have moved from the particular aquatic body to the terrestrial system which is near water bodies. The reason was to find more amount of mineral and nutrients. But once they have reached to the particular terrestrial system, what they have found, they were getting problem for survival. Now to cope up with this problem, they tried to evolve. And how they have evolved? They formed something known as embryo. And this organism which have evolved from algae and lead to the formation of embryo were known as the Bryophyta. Now this Bryophyta also tried to adapt with the system. When it got adapted, it tried to change, and how it have changed? The size of the organism, of the size of the Bryophyta started increasing. And when the size started increasing, see, this is for example a Bryophyta. It was small, so the water is taken up by these cells. And when the water is taken up by these cells, as it is a small body, it can easily diffuse from this cell to another cells, and all the cells will get water, and all the cells were forming food. Now when we talk about a Tracheophyta, for example, this is a Tracheophyta. So the distance between the leaves and root are very much high. Now root is responsible for absorbing water, and it have to transfer it to the leaf. At the same time, leaf was doing photosynthesis and have to transfer the food to root. Now this communication was very hard because there was no specialized structure which was present, and diffusion cannot help in such a big transport. So the problem which we got was conduction of water and food. Now to solve this problem, what they have done, they have lead to the formation of a structure known as your vascular bundles. Now this vascular bundle is formed. Now the particular organism was known as the Tracheophyta. Now if we see, this is still present near the particular water bodies. Now once it got adapted, it tried to move from the water bodies to places far from water bodies. And when they are moving from water bodies to places far from water bodies, what they have seen is the embryo which was helping them for survival is not significant enough now. So to solve this problem, they lead to the formation of something known as seed. And this lead to the formation of a new group, a new phylum, which is known as the Gymnosperm. If we see the Gymnosperm, it literally means naked seeds. Now, during the course of evolution, when they get adapted, they try to modify themselves, and they have found that the seed was helping us to survive and helping us to disperse and try to accumulate more and more surface area of earth. but they have seen that it was just for a smaller time. So to increase the time period for survival, they lead to the formation of fruit. Now fruit was doing what? It was increasing or enhancing the time period for survival, and this lead to the last phylum, which is known as your angiosperm. Is it clear? Is it clear, guys? Okay, now see here. When we are talking about evolution, what we have seen is we are getting some important terms like formation of embryo, formation of tracheids and all. Now remember, we have a category known as Embryophyta. Now what is Embryophyta? These are plants which contain embryo. What are this? These are those group of plant which contain embryo. Now if I have to say that which is the first Embryophyta, okay, which is the first plant to contain embryo is, which is the plant? Bryophyta. The Bryophyta, right? So this is your Bryophyta. Now when we are talking about which are the organisms which can be a part of Embryophyta, so obviously we'll say it is Bryophyta. Okay, it is Pteridophyta. Now, when we are saying during the course of evolution that sir, our particular plant have seen that embryo was not sufficient enough for the survival, it doesn't mean that embryo was finished. Now, embryo had converted into a seed, which means the gymnosperm will also contain embryo. At the same time, the angiosperm will also contain embryo. Remember this. So if they ask you which of the group of plant which contain embryo, you should remember this. Now, when we lead to the formation of Pteridophyta, they formed a new structure which was vascular bundle. Now all this plant which contain this vascular bundle are known as Tracheophyta. Now when we are talking about Tracheophyta, these are what? These are plants with vascular bundles. Now which is the first Tracheophyta we will be talking about? The first Tracheophyta will be always your Pteridophyta. So this is the first plant which will be containing your vascular bundles. If we are talking about which is the group which contain your particular vascular bundles, so we will come from Pteridophyta. We'll see Gymnosperm contain this particular structure, and at the same time, if we see the angiosperm also contain vascular bundle. Now the next thing which we see is known as your Spermatophyta. Now what is Spermatophyta? These are the plants which contain seeds. Now if I am asking about which is the first plant which contains seed or which lead to the formation of seed, we are pretty much clear that it is the Gymnosperm. And what is the another plant which have this? So it is angiosperm. So I will say there are two different plants. One is Gymnosperm, what is angiosperm? I will write it second here, which will be containing this particular structure. Now we need to remember one more thing. So there are two other terms which can be asked. Living Embryophyta and Tracheophyta is cryptograms. Okay, we should also know the definition of these terms. Now cryptograms are plant which reproduce by spores. So they will be forming spores for their reproduction process. In their cases, we should always remember no flower is present, sir. Okay, their cases no flower is present, sir. So it is cryptogram, and if I have to write examples here, I will write algae, the Thallophyta, I will write down Bryophyta, I will write down the group known as the Pteridophyta. Now the next term which comes here is known as the phenograms. Now if we are talking about this group, which is known as Phanerogams, it is what? This is a plant which have flowers. Okay, so we are talking about plants which have flowers. So they will be basically reproducing or reproducing by this. Now, if we are talking about this particular group of plant which will be present here, obviously you can see the first plant which will be here is Gymnosperm, and the second plant which will be here is your Angiosperm. So these are some of the common terms which are asked when we talk about your plant kingdom. Is it clear?